Hello, everybody. Well, I'm trying something new tonight. I really hope this works. I'm going live over Zoom to bring this into my Facebook group. So welcome, everybody, again. I thought tonight I would talk about how to support your liver. It's Liver Awareness Month, and I think we take the liver for granted. It does the most amazing jobs for us, which I'll talk a bit about. But we may be unaware of the liver potentially struggling in its day-to-day activities. So as I said, January is Love Your Liver Month, Awareness Month, and the British Liver Trust, based on some surveys and data it collected when it's gone around the country and has done some scans of people's liver, it actually showed that 10% of people were showing signs of some liver damage. Now, it's obviously very minor. That's nothing to be alarmed about, but it shows how important it is to take steps to do all we can to support the liver itself. Now, the liver does perform many, many roles, but as I said, we can take it for granted. What you may not know is the liver has the most amazing abilities to heal and repair itself. So the liver is fantastic for rejuvenation of itself, but it can need some helping hands to perform its day-to-day roles. I just briefly wanted to mention, when we think about the liver and liver damage, is that there's a tendency to think about alcohol damage, but actually the biggest problem today is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And we may think that's associated with the consumption of too many fatty foods. But in fact, the problem today in the Western world is the very high sugar, high starchy carbohydrate diet, because what happens in the body, and I talk a lot about this from a blood sugar regulation point of view, is that excess sugars, well, first of all, try to be converted to glycogen, and some of those are stored in the liver. But if there's too much circulating glucose on a continuous basis, the body's going to convert that to triglyceride fats. And what's happening is that some of these are probably getting stored in the liver, and hence this fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So it performs many, many functions. One of the key roles is that blood sugar regulation. It can store excess sugar, and if blood sugar levels are dropping low, it can release glycogen back into the bloodstream as glucose. So that's a really important role that it does. The other really primary important role that I want to focus on tonight is the detoxification. Now, you'll hear people talking about detoxification programs and cleanses, and I know doctors would turn and go, that's rubbish. The liver, the liver does this, and it has these amazing pathways through which different toxins are processed through the liver and then excreted either through the kidneys or through the bowels predominantly. But the liver can become a little bit overburdened. What we know now is that we are surrounded by chemicals in our environment, and there are so many chemicals in the food that we're eating that find their way into the bloodstream and will then have to go back to the liver to be detoxified. So what happens is that the liver will just become overburdened from these toxins potentially and struggle to cope with the demands placed on it. We get toxicity from E numbers in our processed foods, from nitrates and nitrites and sulfites in food, from the herbicides and pesticides and fungicides when we're growing grains and vegetables and fruit. And as you have a completely organic diet, we're going to be consuming these toxins. Then, of course, you add on to that, if you're on medications, they also have to go via the liver to be detoxified. So what can we do to support the liver in this amazing role that it has, performing detoxification on top of 500 other functions that the liver is doing for us 24/7, day in, day out, without us even thinking about it? What foods and food groups could we add to our diet that's going to enable us to support the liver to carry out these detoxification roles if it is feeling a little bit overburdened? Number one on my list is garlic. Now, garlic contains selenium, and garlic and selenium can help to activate one of the enzyme pathways and processes responsible for one of the pathways with detoxification. Number 2 is citrus fruit, like grapefruit and oranges and lemons. I know for many people on medications, you cannot consume grapefruit. It's an absolute no-no. But these citrus fruits really help support the liver detoxification pathways. Even consumed in small amounts, they can help to flush out pollutants via the liver and hence onto through the bowels and out through the stools or through the kidneys in urine. Cruciferous vegetables are very important. This is your broccoli, your kale, your cauliflower, cabbage. All of these are those fantastic cruciferous vegetables. They contain a compound called glucosinolate, which helps the liver to produce detoxifying enzymes. And actually the dark green leafy vegetables, particularly the dark green ones, probably not the cauliflower, contain chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is known to help bind to heavy metals to help encourage the excretion of those from the body. Sulfur-rich foods like your onions and garlic, leeks and eggs are very important. It's another one of those 6 detoxification pathways that the liver performs. So we need to be eating these foods on a regular basis. Number 5 on my list is turmeric. Now we know turmeric is hugely anti-inflammatory to the body. It's fantastic antioxidant that has been shown to help cell rejuvenation. At the start I said the liver can rejuvenate, heal and repair itself, and turmeric can help that process. It also helps to flush out toxins as well, and it also helps in detoxifying metals and with bile production. When I talked about the liver detoxification pathways and things going out via the gut and through the stools, it does that because the liver creates bile, and these toxins are incorporated into the bile. Bile is also a fat digestion aid, and when it goes into the gut, then it helps the clearance of these toxins. It comes through the bile and out through the gut and in the stools that way. And the turmeric is very, very supportive of helping bile production. Number 6 on my list is walnuts. They're high in an amino acid called arginine, which helps detoxify ammonia that would go out via the kidneys. They're also high in glutathione, and they're an omega-3 fatty acid, which also helps the liver cleansing roles that it has to perform. Now, beetroot, I always think of beetroot when I'm thinking of liver supportive foods. Beetroot is thought of as a blood cleanser, but it also supports those liver detoxification pathways. It helps to stimulate bile flow, and as I said, toxins go via the liver, through bile and out through the gallbladder, down through the gallbladder, and then onto the gut itself. And beetroot's just wonderful for those blood cleanser and excretion of toxicity and helping to keep bile flowing, which we need to do. Carrots don't just help us see in the dark. Actually, that comes from the fact that they're rich in vitamin A, or beta carotene gets converted to vitamin A. We need a lot of vitamin A for our retina, but they're also high in flavonoids, which help support liver function. So keep your diet up in carrots. As you can see here, we've been talking about a lot of different plant vegetables, and as you know, I talk a lot about diversity and color. So far I've talked about the greens and the whites and the reds and the orange colored vegetables, and lemons and grapefruit are yellow. This is where we need all these colors in our diet. Number 9 on my list is apples. Apples are rich in pectin, which is the most wonderful soluble fiber, helps to cleanse toxins through the gut and out through our stools. So we need to encourage this cleansing motion through the gut so we can keep pulling these toxins coming out through the liver and helping to ensure they are excreted from the body, and the fact that the toxins do not get reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, which can happen if you've got sluggish stools and bowel movements. So, you know, soluble fiber and the pectin in apples is just fantastic for supporting the whole gut health and the bowel movements. And finally, herbs and spices. Now, I may have bracketed them all together, but think how many herbs and spices there are. I've talked about turmeric already. We've also got things like oregano and sage and rosemary, which are fantastically rich in plant compounds called polyphenols. They have powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects, so really, really supporting the liver to perform its roles. So that's a quick snapshot and run through of the foods that we could be eating in our diet on a regular basis to really help the liver perform its detoxification roles. Bearing in mind at the start, I talked about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and that is stemming from the Western diet that so many people have high sugar, high starch diet. Up to 30% of populations have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, even if it's in low amounts and not at the chronic stage. And yet the worldwide incidence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is only at 4%, really reflecting the lifestyle in the Western diet is not that great. So if you really want to focus on trying to minimize your risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, really focus on minimizing the sugars in your diet, minimizing those starchy carbs, eliminating white refined carbs from your diet, and thinking about really upping all these plant-based foods that I've just spoken about tonight. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's been received over Facebook okay. If it hasn't, this is going to be recorded and saved into my YouTube channel. And I'll make sure if it doesn't record properly in Facebook, that I give you the link in Facebook, my Facebook group, so you can watch that ASAP. Many thanks, everyone. Bye.